Dana, I want to talk about your journey in football. Take me through it all the way from minor through junior football and into university football.
Sure. So I started my minor football career. I played locally in Langley. I then moved over and played in Cloverdale, Cloverdale Midget. From there, I played with the Abbotsford Air Force in the late 90s. And that team kind of went through some struggles and some turmoil, and I had kind of transferred over and played for the South Fraser Rams for the Bushler brothers. From there, my football career took me to Halifax. I played for the St. Mary's Huskies, played for Coach Neil out there, won a Vanier Cup. That was exciting. And from there, that was kind of the end of it. When I left university football, I came back. I coached a couple years with the South Fraser Rams. I coached the O-line in 2004, 2005. From there, I kind of got brought back into the fold, and I was the head coach of the Langley midget football team, the Stampeders, in 2008. That was a kind of a difficult period. My son was born, my first child, and that was kind of in the infancy of this business. I didn't have a lot of time to devote to football at that point in time, so I had to kind of focus on business and having my first child. So I stepped away from football, and up until last year, I was asked if I would kind of come back, get involved with the Langley Rams, and I was brought on as the vice president under Gord Quern, who was our current vice president, who was president for about 8 seasons with the Rams, and to transition into the team president, and that's kind of the position I hold right now.
Tell me what it is about the game of football that keeps drawing you back into it.
It's in my blood. I love football. In my opinion, football is the ultimate team sport. It's many different body shapes and sizes. It's kids from all walks of life. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your situation is, what your background is. When you put that jersey on, you put that helmet on, and you're all preparing all week long for that one goal, to win the week, win a championship. You just kind of come together. It's the ultimate family. It's the ultimate team sport, and it's just something that even from a director's standpoint now, I still love it. Like, I still love when game day comes around, even though I'm not involved in the day-to-day and I'm not on the field with the players. It's just in my blood. I've played other sports. I've not to bash other sports. I love hockey. I love baseball, basketball. I played most of them, but nothing resonated like football. It's the ultimate team sport, and I love it.
When you mention some of those other sports like hockey, like basketball, you can have old-timers games. You can have games when you're in your 30s or your 40s. Sure. Football, when you leave the game between the lines.
Agreed.
There's nothing that replaces that feeling.
No.
However, is there something to be said for moving into different positions within the game, whether it's a coach, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's someone on the executive? Is that something that is kind of unique to the game in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, when football is such a physical game that, again, when you're done playing, it's kind of like your only option is to get involved coaching or get involved in a volunteer spot with a board, whatever the case is. You can play hockey in men's leagues. You can still kind of get your fix. You can play slow pitch in baseball. You can play pickup basketball. Those aren't necessarily, hockey's a physical sport, but you can take the body checking out and play. You can play flag football a little bit, but as far as tackle football goes, yeah, it's a young man's mindset. It's a physical sport. You have to get really amped up to play it. You have to bring the intensity every week. And when you get older, it's just kind of, you find other ways to be involved and to give back, and that comes through coaching and being involved in the board, because it never leaves your blood, but you physically can't really play the game anymore. So you just look for different ways to stay involved.
You won a national championship in the CIS with St. Mary's. You played with 2 teams in the BCFC. Tell me about the experiences that you drew from that helped you eventually in your business career with C&D Logistics.
So, it's funny, whenever I give somebody kind of a comparable or an analogy in business, it always draws me back to my days of playing football and sports. I try to run my business like I would run a football team, and and kind of the experiences that I had playing football. Business, in my opinion, is very much a team sport. Everybody's on the same page, pulling in the same direction. There's no job too big or too small. We leave our egos at the door, and we're always in search of kind of the bigger goal, right? We have to work together. If you're working as individuals, if you're working against each other, it's not going to work. It's going to be detrimental to the business. And those are all things that I bring with me from my background playing team sports. You have to be able to, in life, in business, you have to be able to work with people. And that's so important. And in football, you have to be able to work with a team. A quarterback doesn't have time to throw the ball if his O-line's not blocking for him. Receivers can't get open if the O-line's not blocking. If the defense doesn't get the offense back on the field, it's going to be a long day. In business, if your accounting department's falling apart, if your sales team's falling apart, not getting reaching their goals, business is going to dry up. If you're not taking care of your customers, every department is counted on, kind of under the umbrella of the bigger picture.
You're talking about how it takes all types in a football team. You've played at two different major levels of football, junior and university. I think you've probably been in a position to see where university fits certain athletes and junior fits certain athletes, and now you're running the Langley Rams. Can you see the fit for certain types of athletes and junior football? Maybe, saying that university football sometimes isn't the be-all and end-all. There's different paths that you can take in the game.
Absolutely, and the one thing I'll say about junior football, one of many things I'll say, is that junior football, the level of junior football has come so far. I was actually very, very taken back and impressed when I got back involved with the Rams and just how far it's come. The quality and the level of coaching compared to when I played, it's grown by leaps and bounds. The talent. The CIS has grown as well. I mean, if I look back when I played CIS 15 years ago and I turned the TV on this fall and watched UBC play in Laval, and the game has evolved. The game has grown at all levels, in my opinion. The talent, and but with junior, junior offers an opportunity for it's kind of that unique league, because there's kids playing the game that have aspirations to play CIS. They have aspirations. Maybe they're good enough to get a sniff in the CFL straight out of junior, like Andrew Harris, Lauren Plant years back, Josh Bowden, guys like that. So it's an outlet for guys that are very good, but maybe they don't have aspirations of going to school and being an academic. Maybe they're at BCIT, maybe they're working on a trade, but it allows you to play the game at a high level, and maybe it takes you into the CFL. Maybe that's the end of it, but you get to play till you're 22 years old at an extremely high level, and hopefully win a championship or play in some big games. The gap has, in my opinion, closed a little bit between junior and CIS. It used to be an enormous step up. It's still a step up, in my opinion, but the gap is closed. The quality of junior football is improved leaps and bounds.
Talk to me about that fit for a junior player in your mind when they're studying a trade, because a career that leads through university isn't for every student athlete, is it?
No, it's not. It's certainly not. And the thing I try to tell kids is that if you're going to go play university football and you're just doing it strictly to play football, it may not be the best outlet for you. It may not be the best option. Universities, it's not cheap, it's expensive, and if you're not going to take school serious and you're not looking for a university degree, business or what have you, you know what? Playing 5 years of junior football and kind of having a roadmap to your future, whether it be a trade or whether it be working your way up with a company or whatever the case is, it's a fantastic option. Because you're right. Not everybody's cut out for university. Not everyone's cut out for that workload. Not everyone's And if you're going to go to university and just kind of take 3 and 3 arts and sleep all day and just kind of hang out, play football, there's other options.
Talk to me about the type of athlete that comes into junior football that uses junior football as an opportunity to get reps, as an opportunity to develop physically and to develop in the game that allows that individual to move on to university football. There's a role in that too, isn't there?
Absolutely. It's invaluable because it's that stepping stone. It allows you to play with a much higher level of competition that you play against in high school. It allows you to get some film together, playing against a higher level of competition. It allows you to get your grades in order. And there's a lot of guys that play with the Rams that are very serious about getting a scholarship and maybe going to UBC or SFU or traveling to the prairies or going back east to play or going down south. Maybe they didn't have their prerequisites and their grades in order, but they're training. They're training around the clock. All year long, and the practices are very structured. They're run like university practices. Everything's down to the minute. Film, coaches prep like they do in the CIS, and playing junior football is invaluable for kids that maybe didn't get that look out of high school, but they still want to fulfill that dream and they want to play university football. Junior football is invaluable for that because they prepare themselves, around the clock.
Talk to me about. I know on the 31st there's a fundraiser for the Langley Rams.
Yeah.
Part of that money is going to a scholarship program
Right.
for the Rams. How different is that from when you played? Because more and more teams across the CJFL have committed money to scholarships. And as a matter of fact, some CJFL teams can do more with scholarship money than a CIS team actually can.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, the landscape has changed drastically since I played. When I played, there was no talk about scholarship money. There was no talk about anything. Coaches were digging in their pockets, and teams were constantly in debt, and it was always a struggle. You were running, on a shoestring, and it was tough. But now we raise money. We give these kids scholarship money so that these players come from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, and what we do is we use junior. If these kids want to go and play university, it's a springboard, and we help them. We contribute financially, and we help them take courses so that they can upgrade and so that they can continue playing football at a high level. And they need help with, there's travel, there's bridge tolls, there's you want to take a few courses so that you can become academically eligible to play at that level. And if you don't help them out, they're going to go somewhere where they're going to get help. And the landscape is competitive, and recruiting is dog eat dog, and you've got to be able to help these kids out.
You mentioned some challenges of the past in the BCFC in terms of the stability of the operations and the stability of the franchises. It's been pretty stable for the last few years. Mm-hmm. Is that because there's been a commitment to more of a business-like organization within the various operations? And I mean, obviously, you've got a great business background that you're going to apply to the Langley Rams as a president. Do you see that throughout the conference?
Yeah, I mean, Okanagan Sun, for example, they've done a marvelous job for years of activating the business community and getting top-notch sponsors behind them and creating value for those sponsors. That's one thing that we really tried to do. We've started to do with the Langley Rams is offer our sponsors value. Make it about them when the game's on, whether you're putting up A-frames in front of the stands, hanging banners. We've got the Jumbotron at the field. There's obviously brand awareness in the program. We have, with some of our sponsors, we have game nights kind of surrounded around them, their theme. They bring out promotional products and swag to kind of hand out to fans and to promote their business. And you have to create that value for sponsors to want to get involved. And again, that's something that the Okanagan Sun has done really well for years, and they're kind of the flagship model and always have been. And it's twofold. Back when I was involved in junior football and I played, the league was quite watered down, in my opinion. There was a lot of teams in the Lower Mainland, so it was quite fragmented. You had the Vancouver Trojans, you had the Tri-City Bulldogs, you had the Abbotsford Air Force, the Surrey Rams, then the Valley Huskers came in. I mean, you had 5 or 6 teams in the Lower Mainland. So you'd have an all-Canadian O-lineman here, you'd have an all-star there, you'd have... So the product was quite watered down. Quite often I can remember going to practices and having, running a half-line drill because we didn't have a full offensive defensive line. You don't see that now. So now the teams are a little bit more spread out. So in Kamloops, you've got the community of Kamloops back in the Broncos, Nanaimo, Victoria, Kelowna, Langley, Chilliwack. So the teams are spread out in kind of smaller markets rather than having it centered in the lower mainland and having a team here that has 25, 30 guys and a team there that has 25, 30 guys. So you can really the league's a little bit more spread out now, and you can tap into those communities a little bit better for sponsorship dollars and for corporate backing.
Mm-hmm. And I guess through that it's regionalized as well. I want to talk to you about activating alumni. Because we've seen the impact of alumni throughout the CIS. Mm-hmm. I think UBC is a great example of that this past year. But is the draw the same as a university program in terms of alumni? Are you expecting different things out of your alumni? How do you engage alumni?
Yeah, so social media is a big thing. Engaging alumni through social media. A lot of alumni have gone on to start businesses, and they run businesses. Maybe they haven't thought about getting back involved with the junior football program that they were involved in. Maybe nobody's approached them. So that's something that we do, is we actively are reaching out to alumni to build a strong alumni program. Last year we honored 2 BC championship teams from the past, and we brought all of our alumni back to the park and we honored them at halftime. We had a video presentation. They brought their families.
Just hold on for a sec.
Yep.
It's really loud over there.
Guys, can you keep it down, please? Guys.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you that question again.
No worries.
Still rolling? Talk to me about engaging alumni, because we've seen how important alumni is at the university level. I think that's something that junior teams are now playing catch up on, but it's certainly something that's going to provide stability in the future.
Absolutely. So engaging alumni through social media, building a presence, getting them back to the park, whether it's, have a night where alumni can come back for free, bring their families, creating an atmosphere that they want to be involved in, something that they can be proud of, so that they can say to their son and daughter, Dad played for this team, isn't that cool? Kind of creating an atmosphere at the park that they want to be involved in. But there's alumni that have moved on, that have started businesses. They work for companies, and these companies all have dollars that they can donate and that they can spend, and they all have it built into their budget, and just tapping into that and being a part of it. That's something that we've done with our business, with C&D Logistics, is we've gotten involved with the Langley Rams, obviously, and we've also gotten involved at the conference level with the BCFC, because at the end of the day, what junior football and what football in general did for me as a young man at a young age, it taught me discipline, it taught me structure, it taught me accountability, it taught me all those wonderful things that maybe, who knows, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for junior football. And I think that's important for guys to realize that these teams run on large budgets, and it's certainly not cheap, and you kind of have to pay it forward, and you have to realize that it's important to give back. So yeah, tapping into alumni and looking for donations, having things like scholarship dinner fundraisers. We've got a Junior Rams camp, our first annual, coming up. Jerry Friesen will be running that. So that's a source of revenue. But yeah, getting the alumni back to the park, it's hugely important.
Blake mentioned something to me, Blake Roberts mentioned something to me about things that you do with the BC Lions. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so we got involved with the BC Lions a few years back, again, being a passionate football fan that I am, and knowing some folks over with the Lions. We just kind of struck a deal. We're a sponsor of the BC Lions, so we do different things with them, ticket backs and that sort of thing, signage on the field, typical sponsorship type of stuff. And we've begun moving their equipment as well. So we ship all of their equipment to road games on tight timelines, and make sure that trucks are at the stadium, in the third quarter to get ready to meet the cutoff at the airport, so that flights aren't missed, so that the helmets and the gear is back for practice on Monday, and I've gotten to know a lot of, I've gotten to know and become friends with a lot of the folks over with the BC Lions, and I'm so passionate about football that as sponsors we do everything we can to engage that relationship and engage that sponsorship to promote the BC Lions, because the Canadian game and the CFL is just such a wonderful product, and whatever we can do on our end as sponsors to engage our client base and grow the BC Lions, help them, CFL, we love it.
Is there, it looks like on the surface that you're just shipping things back and forth and in a sponsor relationship, but is there any dialogue created within that relationship that you can take, that you learn from the Lions that you can apply to the Langley Rams?
Yeah, I mean, you see, it's funny being around kind of the Lions a little bit. You see how a professional organization is run behind the scenes. You kind of get a little bit of an insight into how they budget for things and everybody that has the different positions. Running an organization and running a business, you have to be able to delegate. That's truly how you make progress. When you're at the junior football level, you have to have a nice sized board of directors, and people have to have roles, and they have to play those roles well, and they have to be accountable to those roles, and you have to be able to delegate. And that's something that, obviously the BC Lions, they're a professional sports team, but they're also a business, and they're run very well and very efficiently. And so yeah, being able to see how things are behind the scenes, I've been able to take a lot of that and kind of apply it to how we run the Langley Rams. Absolutely.